So this is a webinar with Gabriella and myself, and Gabriella will be introducing Nicola later. Nicola's part of the online course, and she'll be explaining that later on. Okay, so let's just find out a little bit about you first of all. We've got polls, and Shakura, who's sitting next to me. Hello, Shakura. Hello, she can launch polls, which means you can participate in the whole experience of the webinar. And we'll find out a little bit more about you in a moment. So first of all, have a look at this. This is your control panel, and it will show you how you can control your audio participation. And you'll see the mic and speakers is checked, which means that you can use either your computer microphone or a headset if you've got one. Okay. At the moment, everyone is muted, and we do that on purpose. Okay, and what will happen is if you want to talk to us, we'll unmute you, and then you can actually ask questions live on air, assuming that you've got a headset and a good series of a good audio system. Okay, so this is an overview of my presentation. What I thought I'd do is start off, and I'm just going to give a historical development of Pauline's work, how she developed Shiatsu theory in practice, and how she evolved her work coherently from Masanaga's work, and how she was influenced by Masanaga and Kishi. Before we do that, let's find out a little bit about you and who you are. Okay, so first of all, we're going to launch the first poll, and we're going to find out who you are. So if you'd just like to check the one of the following: Shiatsu student, Shiatsu practitioner, Shiatsu teacher, other therapists, or not a therapist at all, and we'll just see how we get on. So let's see. All right, so far we've got 78% voted, and the vast majority are Shiatsu practitioners, 73%. 89% voted. Any more of you out there that would like to vote? No. Okay. Should we? Oh, 94%. We'll just give them one more minute. Yep. Should we keep it at that? Okay. So let's publish the results. So look at that. 76% of you are Shiatsu practitioners, 12% are students, and 12% are teachers. And we've got no other therapist or any other category today. So there we are. We've got a very Shiatsu orientated audience this time, Gabriella.
Good.
Yep. Let's find out where they are. It's always interesting to find out where you are. So Shakura's just launching another poll, finding out where you are. Are you in Europe or Scandinavia? North or South America? Australasia or the Pacific Islands, Asia, Africa or the Middle East? It looks like we're going to have a very European-based webinar at the moment. We've actually got some people from America and some people from Australia already enrolled on the online course. Let's see. Actually, I've seen at least one person who's definitely from America who hasn't voted yet. But so far, of those that have voted, all of them are from Europe and Scandinavia. So there we are. Okay, good.
100%. Wow.
Yep, but that's unusual. Usually we have a bit of a scattering around the world, but not this time. Okay, right. So we've got some other questions, but perhaps we'll ask you some more. Actually, should we find out if it's their first webinar? Can we ask you if it's your first webinar, because that'll just give you an idea of if I need to give you some more. Right, here we go. About a third, yeah, around a third, it's your first webinar. Why didn't she come out as being in Europe? Oh, she can't vote. Sandy can't vote on her iPad, and she's definitely from America, so it's that corrupted the results. Okay, so about a third of the attendees have it's their first webinar. So really big welcome to those of you who've come for the first time, come into this online world for the first time. We hope you enjoy it. Don't forget, you can ask questions using the chat at any time. You can put your hand up by pressing the little hands up button, and Shakura will keep an eye on that and see if we can get you on audio to ask any questions as we go along. Please don't be afraid to ask any questions, and if you ask them by text, then we'll obviously feed them to Gabriella or myself, and we'll try and answer the questions as we go along. Okay, so we'll try and make it as interactive as we can. Okay, so there's a picture of Pauline in her office in her red house, which was the small house that she lived in when I visited her for my apprenticeship in 1986. And I caught this photograph of her working away doing her paperwork upstairs. She had her treatment room downstairs. Okay, so let's just go on and let's look at some influences. Well, Pauline had two main influences, and probably Kishi, I would say, is the one who really helped lay the foundations for the light body work, because although he worked on the body a lot of the time, he was very interested in tuning into the structure of the energetic field. And if you know his work at all, you'll know that he did a lot of spiritual practice in his life, which allowed him to develop his energy awareness up to a really high level. And Pauline was definitely really influenced by that, because she apprenticed with him in the 80s, and she apprenticed with him at a time when she felt that she was reaching the edges of the current development of the Masanaga system. And so, of course, Masanaga was her other very big influence, and it was, and she was really very, very important in really interpreting Masanaga's work because of her background in the famous 1970s workshops that Masanaga gave in Ohashi School in New York. And that was through those workshops that Masanaga's work really got transmitted to the West and to Europe. And really, Masanaga, although his work itself, especially things like the meridian expressions, and the whole idea of the protopathic sense, the sense of getting in touch with the whole energy of the body, although a lot of it was hinting towards a higher level of energy work, it was really Kishi who actually took that step to take it into more of an energetic, pure energetic form. And as a result, he actually parted with Masanaga when he took the work in that direction. So many, many years with Masanaga, graduating with Masanaga in Japan just before Masanaga died, and invaluable input from the famous seminars that Masanaga gave in New York when Pauline was teaching at the Ohashi Shiatsu Institute. And then an apprenticeship with Kishi, finding out how to understand a lot of the experiences she was having with her work. And that led to Pauline's development of the work, which was definitely a combination of those two main inputs. Okay, so looking back over Pauline's work, I've kind of classified three main periods. We had the early period, which was after Masanaga died, until about the middle of the 90s. And I was working with her quite closely from 1986 onwards. And during that period, as we'll find out, really Pauline was developing Masanaga's work. And then from the mid-90s to the mid-2000s, Pauline really took the work up another level and in more directly working with the energetic field. And then finally, the late period between 2007 and when Pauline sadly died in 2010, that's the period that Gabriella has the most experience of and which laid the foundation for the light body work. So I'll be letting Gabriella talk in more detail about that period once I've just given this introduction. Pauline always emphasized when she taught 4 components of the work that had to interact in order to make a healing system meaningful. She always used to bring it back to the philosophy. The philosophy was, why is it, at a deep level, why is it that we're doing the work that we're doing? That philosophy will reflect in the diagnosis. If we understand what we're doing and why, that will lead us to tune in to certain aspects of the body and the field. And that in turn leads to the treatment methods that we have, and also the theory that we use to explain what we're doing. And the interesting thing that I find about Pauline's work is that at every time when she went up into another level with her work, she always did it consistently with all of those 4 components. So look, here's an old picture of Pauline and I teaching in La Chiara in Italy, and we just relaxed. We just caught by a student relaxing after class, talking about something or other. So the early period, from 81 to around the mid-90s, during that time, what Pauline did was basically refine Masunaga's idea of the function of the meridians, and she did that by using the meridian expressions that Masunaga developed as a way of experiencing the meridians as vibrations or functions in the whole field. She did quite a bit of work on the Kyojitsu reaction, how you can understand that at a deeper level. The Kyojitsu reaction was one of the great contributions that Masunaga made to Shiatsu theory and practice. She also developed the idea of composite treatments, which is linking the functions of the meridians, the Kyojitsu reaction, together in order to construct the treatment. So and during this period, it was very, very much rooted in how Masunaga left work. Towards the end, though, she started to work on tuning in on the 4 levels of physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And that was just kind of the end of the early period. Okay, now look at this interesting shot of the flip chart here. You can see this early example of using expansion and contraction, using the spine as the energetic center, and look at the idea of using the spinal center to feel let's just move this out. Yep. Feeling the lightness and radiation of energy. So you can see that she was starting to think about moving into a different kind of perception of the energy field. And you can see at the bottom that she's also starting to work with mindset there. That's the idea of using intention to directly influence the techniques. So the alignment, expansion and contraction as a whole system, and also thinking of the meridians as part of the etheric field just came into the end of the middle period there. And then the whole idea of integrating mindset and modeling, which is actively using our own energetic field to as part of the actual technique, was kind of integrated into that whole period. Okay, so then we've got this other flip chart picture here, look, which is where Pauline was starting to refine her knowledge of the energetic body or the etheric body. You can see she's starting to talk about the material body, the personal body, meridians, and how they link with the light body. This is quite a rare picture of an actual diagram of how the light body interacts with the physical body. And then the ether body as being part of that whole energetic body. And this was when Pauline went into much more advanced energy work techniques, which Gabriella will be talking a lot more about after I've finished my introduction. Because Gabriella studied more with Pauline during that period than I did. At the beginning of the period, of around 2007, Pauline was just experimenting with a lot of these techniques, and she tried out a lot of them with me at the time. And some of the work she was doing was working with the chakras, the whole concept of the light body, and then other concepts such as the grid, and then finally work with the soul and DNA activation. Okay, so here's the conclusion to my little introduction here. Pauline's work was definitely a coherent development of Masunaga's work. I feel that it went into 3 main periods, and at each stage she always developed the philosophy, diagnosis, treatment, and the theory. And the light body is really part of an evolutionary process of that series of developments that she made during her lifetime. Okay, so that was a brief introduction and overview to the background to the light body work. Have you got anything that you'd like to say, Gabriella, about that you can add to that?
I think this is a very, very interesting and clear presentation of Pauline, of her work, and of how it developed over the years. So I think it's really comprehensive, very clear, and it gives this red thread about how she really moved from classical Shiatsu into a very spiritual Shiatsu, I would say. But always, 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 and this is what I've always appreciated about her, working on the body, always bringing everything back into the physical body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay,
So thank
great.
you very much.
You're most welcome. Well, one of the reasons why we're doing this webinar again, and several people have said, are you doing the same webinar again? And this is like unprecedented in the history of new energy work, isn't it? All the time we've been doing
Yeah.
these webinars and online courses, and the reason we're doing it is simply because we were absolutely overwhelmed with the response. We actually could have filled the first light body online course that you did, we could have filled that twice over. We had an overwhelming amount of interest. It really was quite extraordinary. It took us by surprise, and that's why we've decided to start this season by running the course again. So I know the first one was a bit of a shock, wasn't it, to you, Gabriella? The amount of work involved and the general experience was a bit of a learning curve, wasn't it?
It was a great experience, but I didn't expect such an interest, an enthusiasm, and so many emails, so many questions, so many interesting remarks, and especially the experiences those participants had with this work were incredible. How they could pick it up and use it in their practice and how they liked it. I think this work is really the work for this time. And so the response is incredible.
It was overwhelming, wasn't it? And it was because I was actually like tracking the course and I was looking at all the forums and everything, and it was quite extraordinary the experiences that people were having. It really was. It was a very successful course, even though it was extremely exhausting for you and Nicola.
Well, we
Okay.
had 5 weeks answering emails. This
Yeah.
was the main work for 5 weeks.
Okay, we can actually see your screen now, Gabriella. So if you want to load up your presentation.
Okay, okay, here I am.
Hmm.
Can you see the screen?
Yep, we can see your screen now. And we can see it
Okay.
coming up. Yes, there we are. We've got your presentation. Yeah, great.
Okay, so after your nice presentation, I would like to stress once again that really Pauline went beyond the parameters of traditional shiatsu, and I think she really developed a revolutionary approach to this energetic system of our receivers. And what is very special about this work is that the aim of this work is to align the physical body with spiritual vibrations, integrating these vibrations into the physical format, so that the qualities that define our spiritual reality may manifest in our physical reality. And the qualities of the spiritual vibrations are love, compassion, harmony. So if we can bring these vibrations into our physical body and then manifest them in our daily life, that's really a revolution, I would say.
That would be fantastic. Yeah. Gabriella, can I just
Yes.
stop you for a moment and just do a few little technical things? If you go into your Adobe thing and you press Command L, that should make it full screen. So it'll make it look a bit tidier. Command L.
I have to, just a second, Command L. Better?
Yep, that's it. Perfect. Yeah, that's now full. That's now full
That's it.
screen. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Full screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so you already seen my picture, and I would like to introduce myself. Of course, I'm a Shiatsu teacher and a Shiatsu practitioner since a long, long time. And I'm also proud because I was one of the co-founder of the European Shiatsu Institute. And I would like also to introduce Nicola, who unfortunately cannot be present tonight with us. And also Nicola is a Shiatsu practitioner and a Shiatsu teacher since a long, long time. And she was one of the founding teachers of the Shiatsu College. And both Nicola and myself, we had the privilege and the honor to be Pauline's students in the last phase of her high-level energy work, and to get from their hands the latest evolution of her work. I'll show you Nicola's. And now I would like to quote here a statement from Pauline, which summarizes in a way the essence of her revolutionary approach. She says that we are living in a period of rapid transition where the energy of our environment is speeding up. And this environment supports and encourages all energies on the planet to transmute into the next phase of evolution. This includes the human form. It is important for you to know that your physical body's makeup is changing. The old paradigm of healing, which focuses on correcting what is wrong, is becoming obsolete and being replaced by a new paradigm requiring the alignment of your physical energy with what is right. This new approach to health involves the activation and development of the light body. When this activation happens, as I was saying before, the expansive vibrations that define our spiritual reality can manifest in the contractive vibrations that give shape to our physical reality. And most of what we will share with you, Nicola and myself, and Cliff, of course, during this course comes from Pauline. From Pauline comes working with chakras, activating the etheric bodies, installing the grid, integrating sacred geometry in our work, and the 9 dimensions. And now let's just see in detail what we will explore during this forthcoming 5 weeks. So we will explore the meridians, the chakras, a range of etheric bodies. We will also get in contact with the spiritual dimension via the 9 dimensions and sacred geometry. And of course, we will focus also on grounding, which is very important when you do this work. So the first week we will, and I forgot, we will also practice techniques to integrate all this material into your Shiatsu practice.
I tell you, Gabriella, one of the most impressive things for me was the fact that you actually have actually made your own YouTube channel for the last course, which I thought was yeah, because I'd just like to mention that we do use a lot of video in the courses, and it was very impressive to see that you'd actually made a whole series of videos and you now actually have your own YouTube channel, which
yes,
I think
because, I mean, just words are not enough. If you want to put this work into practice, you have to see something and then have an explanation, but also to see the hands, to see the work. So yes, it was a big challenge for me, but I did it.
Did you enjoy making the videos? You look like you really did enjoy doing it.
Yes, I was a little bit excited, but I did enjoy making them, yes. I must admit.
Because we do a lot of videoing here, don't we, Shakura? It is good. It is really good fun. It is really good fun. We do enjoy it.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the great things about the internet now. Video has really changed the whole interaction, hasn't it? It really has.
exactly,
And a
exactly.
lot of people, a lot of feedback we have is we're saying it's great because it's like you've always got the best place in the class, you know, because we stick the
Yeah,
video
exactly.
camera right over the right over the shoulder or right in front of the. You're always in the front of the class, you know.
Yeah, you're there on the front row.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so the first week we will be exploring the meridian system, and we will explore the energetic structure of the meridians and also find out how meridians can be seen from many different perspectives. They can be seen as energetic channels, as a series of acupoints, as functions in the Masunaga system, and ultimately as a bridge from the physical body to the light body. The second week, we will be exploring the 7 major chakras and 2 etheric chakras. As most of you might know, a chakra is a center for receiving, processing, and transmitting cosmic energy through the human form. So cosmic ki, which is expansive energy from the universe, is reorganized in a chakra so that it can be absorbed and utilized by the human material body. So again, cosmic ki and human material body. And we will also find out about the rights of the chakra and look at how the chakras are structured. Third week, we will start exploring the various layers of our energetic system: the physical body, the material body, the personal body, the ether body, and the astral body. Pauline maintained, she found out and she felt mainly that our energetic body comprises of many different layers that vibrate at different speeds. So the slower and denser layer is what we call the material body. And the material body is divided again into 2 vibrational qualities: the physical body, our anatomy and physiology, and the light body, meridians and chakras. The next layer is the personal body, and when the material body and the personal body vibrate at the same rate of expansion, they merge and they operate as one unity called the ether body. And when we go beyond the ether body, the layers of the energetic body get predominantly more expansive, and one of these layers in this expansive field is called the astral body. Actually, we will deal with the astral body in the following week. But anyway, this to give you an idea, an overview of the etheric field. And during this week, we will also talk about grounding, which is a crucial aspect of our work, especially when we interact with high frequency energy.
I think that was one of the lessons that that we all learned from the last course, wasn't it? That it was just too much that week with
Yes,
all we had
with all
four
the bodies
we
there.
had 4 energetic bodies, and I'm afraid we had people all over the world completely flipping out with it. It was just too much.
So we decided to move the astral body to the next week, the astral
Very
body and the grid, because
very
we had
sensible.
everything. Yes, and include grounding
Yes,
before we went.
yes, probably essential. Yes, you see, but one learns by one's, experience.
Exactly. So the fourth week, we will complete the experience of working with the etheric bodies, and we will explore how we can activate the astral body and how we can install the grid, the energetic grid. And then we will enter this amazing magic world of sacred geometry. I don't know if you have any experience with sacred geometry, but when Pauline started talking about it and she showed us something, we were all fascinated. And sacred geometry is the blueprint of creation and the genesis of all forms. We can describe it as a belief system attributing a religious or cultural value to many of the fundamental geometrical forms. And it is by studying the nature of these forms and their relationship to each other that one may gain insight into the scientific, philosophical, psychological, aesthetic, and mystical laws of the universe. Sacred geometry is everywhere. On every scale, every natural pattern of growth or movement conforms inevitably to one or more geometric shapes. And the ancient believed that the experience of sacred geometry was essential to the education of the soul. And I quite agree with them. And then the fifth week, we will move on to the 9 dimensions. We will explore their vibrational levels and how we can experience them. And the 9 dimensions represent another way of understanding our spiritual knowledge and of getting in contact with our various realities. I won't mention you what is for each dimension because it's too long. Mm-hmm. And I would like to conclude by sharing with you a quote from Pauline's DVD, The Human Potential, that in a way is a synthesis of her philosophy and of her work. And she says, and so the journey begins. It is our journey, not from earth to heaven, but from heaven to earth. A different perspective. What are we? Spirits, beings of light in a human physical form. But all of that has been forgotten. So we look to the sky for answers and find possibilities. A reality with multidimensional and parallel universes. Yet what we find outside of ourselves is only a reflection of what is inside of us, a complex self living in a reality of infinite possibilities that resonates far beyond the physical body. This expanded version of being human is called the energetic body, and it is through the energetic body that we really discover what our full human potential is. I find this beautiful. It's a beautiful vision of the possibilities, the potential, the richness of a human being. And its hope, its love, its harmony, its grace. And that's what Pauline was really sharing with us, because of course she was there. She was at a level of expansion, a level of evolution that was really coming through her words, through her hands, through her teaching. And again, it was an honor for us to be there and to get her teachings until the last year she was with us. Okay, so
yes, thank you very much, Gabriella. That's a great overview of Pauline's, the third period of her work, and also it's great to hear what you're going to be up to and your slightly changed order of what you're going to be up to on the online course.
Yes, I did. get less emails, but if they come, the emails, they're always welcome anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to show my screen again. I'm just going to go back to the title screen just so that we've got something running in the background as we talk. And
Yes.
what I thought we'd do for the last part of the webinar is I just thought we could perhaps just discuss together something that occurred to me, which is how we actually apply this more advanced work in our actual clinical work, in a practical way.
Mm-hmm.
And also, of course, if you'd like to ask any questions about anything that you've heard this evening, please do either type it into the question section on your control panel, or put your hand up and we'll try and get you on audio. I mean, it's funny because only last week I actually had a client who came to me with a range of issues that were just completely that I would not have known how to, approach if I hadn't had a lot of these techniques. I mean, and the interesting thing is that we get such a wide variety of clients, but the fact is that from time to time one does get clients whose entire focus of the session is of a spiritual nature, or it may be because they feel that they've got relationships with what we might call non-physical beings, or with past lives, or perceptions that they can't understand. And it was only last week that I used a lot of the techniques that you're going to share with us on the online course in order to just make sense of the session. As part of the diagnosis, I actually scanned the different layers of the ether body, and I became aware of things in the field that I could work with. I used the extra chakras as part of the session. So I mean, it's hard to know what I could have done if I hadn't had those techniques. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, for me, it's impossible now to work without using them, and because they are in a way so simple and at the same time so effective. Because whether you are aware or not, we are an energetic field. We are all these bodies, and I find that most of the discomfort or diseases or things people have come from the fact that they have lost contact with their spiritual vibrations, that they are kind of compressed into the physical body, and they feel separated, they feel alone, they are afraid, and they develop either physical symptoms, or they get depressed, or they go out and they have contact with the strange beings and things like this. So I think this work where you kind of start and harmonize all these bodies, the vibrations of all these bodies, in order to get to a light body, so a physical body where these spiritual and etheric vibrations are present. That's the best we can do for our clients. That's the basis also of their physical problems, because I find that working with these techniques helps to solve physical problems much quicker than before.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you address the person as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
high vibrations are very powerful, so they influence the physical tissues much more than lower vibrations. And also your mindset and your philosophy and your knowing that you are really assisting these receivers to get again in touch with their source, to go through a unification process. That's, for me, it's very powerful, and it's also, again, to work with these techniques. you feel honored in a way,
Hmm.
because you deal with spiritual energy, you deal with the cosmic key, you deal with grace, with love, actually.
Mm,
So
exactly.
it's
Yeah.
more and more a pleasure and an honor to work. I've always considered Shiatsu the best thing to do in life. But with these techniques, I really feel I've got a precious things in my hand. This
Mm,
is how I
mm.
find it. A really precious tools that I can use.
Yeah, that's fantastic, isn't it? Yeah. Just going back to your what you were mentioning before, and I was just thinking myself when you mentioning the meridians, um, and I was just thinking that even in TCM theory, the meridians themselves or the organs um, have spiritual associations, and of course,
Yes,
the
of course.
whole spiritual, the more esoteric and spiritual aspects of Chinese medicine sadly often get edited out by a double process. One was the whole Maoist materialist thing. And then after that, it was the way in which a lot of Chinese medicine is presented in Western texts is very, it's kind of more concrete. It tends to be more on the concrete side. But of course, the more esoteric and the more spiritual aspects of it really have always been embedded in the whole system, really going back through the centuries and through the millennia, back through the history of Chinese medicine. And it's interesting how I think it's interesting how Pauline used the meridians really as the first step, even before the chakras,
Yes,
to start connecting with that higher level of understanding of humans and our clients and ourselves and so on.
yes, that's right. Because she was the one who developed the understanding of the functions at all levels.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
This,
The resonance. Yeah.
yeah, the resonance of the functions at all levels, which is the starting of this work,
Yeah.
by all means. Mm.
And the other thing that occurred to me as well, it often occurred to me over the years, was the role of the alignment, because Pauline was really quite practical about the alignment. But actually, of course,
Yes,
that whole process of aligning is really part of a spiritual process as well, isn't it? It's embedded in all
yes,
meditation forms and um, almost all spiritual practice have some kind of gestures or some kind of alignment built in there. So that's an interesting development as well, I think, which really
yes.
preceded the whole chakra thing. It preceded the whole
Yeah.
chakra, the understanding of the chakras. So
In a way, the alignment Pauline was teaching us and she was developed is very much connected with the chakras, is very much connected with this light channel. So it was really the beginning of the alignment with the center of the earth and with the heaven.
yeah,
Mm.
exactly. Yeah, which is embedded in the whole
So
yin and yang,
yeah,
concept as well.
exactly. So the human being between heaven and earth, and being connected to earth and heaven.
Hmm.
So she has
Okay.
great intuitions, I must say.
Yeah. But it's interesting that she came across the alignment through working with an Alexander teacher, though. That was an
Yes, yes,
interesting, which I think might be why she's so practical about it, because it is in Alexander technique, it is a very practical thing, the actual alignment. Um, but
yeah. She
in
took
turn
it and then
transformed it. Yeah, that's right.
yeah, she took it and she put it beyond. She developed a new meaning for this, or a further meaning
Yes,
for the
exactly.
alignment. Mm.
Okay, well, time is speeding past as it always does on these webinars, and
Yes.
we've got less than 15 minutes left now. So if there's
So
anyone who's an attendee, anyone who's joined us this evening, if you've got any comments or questions, I'll tell you what, before we do
yes,
that, let's just find out what their experience of Pauline's work is. Should we do that? We've got a poll for that. I'm sure we
Yes,
have.
yes, yes,
Let's run that
sure.
poll and see what kind of connection. Could you just tell us whether you've studied with Pauline herself when she was alive, or whether you know her work through training with other teachers, or whether you've not had any direct experience of being taught her work by anyone? Well, of course, that's changed now because you've been on this webinar. But before this webinar, let's have a look and see. That's interesting, isn't it? Any more people would like to vote, I wonder? Yeah, we've got a few more votes coming in. Sandy was voted. Yeah, Sandy's just put a chat in. Yeah, apparently the polls don't appear on iPads, so we'll have to get. Yeah, thank you, Dominic. Dominic's reminded us that Sandy can't vote, so they're looking out for each other out there. Sandy, I know for a fact, is in Portland, Oregon. So, okay, so yeah, do you want to publish the results? Look at this.
Okay.
We've got 18% actually studied with Pauline,
Italy.
and over half actually have trained with other teachers who know her work. So it's been being transmitted, and quite a large 29% have not had a direct experience of being taught Pauline's work until they've come on this webinar. So that's about a
this
third.
is their opportunity for it.
Yeah, there we are. Well, I hope those of you who have had no previous experience have found it interesting so far. So if you've got any questions, we've got just about 10 minutes to run. If you've got any questions at all or comments, then we'd be glad to hear from you. Love you all, we've got from Sandy. That's not exactly a question. I'll take that as a comment.
Yes. A very nice comment.
A very nice comment. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. What's that? Okay, let's have a look. We've got a few. We've got something in Italian here. C'è piacere sentirti. Baci from Susanna. Susanna Eichhammer. She sent a message.
Yes, yes.
She sent you a message in Italian.
Yes. Baci anche per te.
Yeah. Okay, Leslie sent a comment. She says I'm thoroughly fascinated by everything you're saying and look forward to the course itself. And she says I'm curious to know if this work is anything like Barbara Bennon's Hands of Light School, Reiki, or Diksha, Oneness, Blessing, or anything. I don't know what your opinion is of that.
No, not at all. Not at all, because Reiki, there is no touch. So this is totally different. Pauline's was leaning on the body, very expanded, but very, very deep. And Barbara hand was really more cleaning and working mainly with chakras. No, I would say this is really original from Pauline, I would say. So it's quite, although she, of course, energy is energy, so you can see it from different perspectives, but she has again developed a very coherent system. Again, as you were saying, Cliff, it's always very coherent, and I would say really original from her.
Yeah, I think that's the main difference. Is it's really rooted in the whole bodywork thing, isn't it? Rather than being. But obviously, there because a lot of the material is similar, like the chakras and the etheric field and things like that. You will obviously see similarities because, after all, we're working with the same spirit bodies, But it's just the structure of it really came out more out of Shiatsu, doesn't it? Okay, here we've got some more questions. We've got lots of questions coming. This always happens. The questions always come flooding in at the end when we've only got like 10 minutes left. All right, this is interesting. Yeah, okay. This is Suzanne again. She'd like to know if this work could be dangerous, in inverted commas, in the sense that it's kind of open, what the practitioner is actually doing. What would your comment be on that?
In my experience, I don't see or feel it dangerous.
No.
If you, it might be dangerous if you go into power games, but
Yes.
if you are into service and if you align yourself with this spiritual energy and ground yourself, no,
Yeah, I
because you
agree with
don't
that.
manipulate people and
No.
you don't catch anything. If you are well aligned and if you are really in all your bodies, vibrating in all your bodies, you are totally safe.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And also, just looking back at her question, she said that it's kind of open what the practitioner is actually doing, but that's not really what the work's like because it is highly structured,
No,
isn't it? It has got a very high degree of structure. Um,
no, it's not open at all. It has a structure,
yeah, and I
very,
remember.
very clear structure.
Hmm.
So it just gives you a very good guideline on how to proceed.
Hmm.
And of
Yeah,
course, then there is all the feeling and seeing and perceiving, but within a structure. For instance, Pauline, she always used a sequence, a routine in her work. So she had already a form within which to perceive, to work, to interact with the energy. But already this gives us like a frame within
yes,
which we can work. And then she had kind of protocols. So no, I would say it's not such an open
no.
work.
I mean, I would agree with that. And I remember Pauline always emphasizing actually the whole structure of the form when you're doing energy work. Even in the earlier times, she was always um, emphasizing the fact that the more your awareness expanded, the more you have to balance that out with structuring the work, so that you exactly that doesn't happen, that you don't go into a sort of amorphous world where you're out of control with it, which can happen if you don't ground properly when you're doing this type of work. And I think that's the essence of it. And I think that's one of the big advantages actually of having a shiatsu background, because you have all that grounding training, and also you have the body, the physical body, to lock the work down, kind of thing,
Yes,
into a structure, because I know that's one of the things that Kishi had problems with when he was inviting non-shiatsu people to his residentials and things. Is I know there were issues there with some of the students not having the same amount of grounding as the shiatsu people.
two people.
So I think that definitely can be an issue. But,
And
oh yeah,
deep leaning is
where is that?
perfect to keep you grounded.
Yes, exactly. Oh my goodness, we've got loads of stuff coming in now.
So we
Let's
will
see.
get lots of emails this time too.
Oh yeah, here
It
we go.
looks like.
Dinah's made an interesting comment here. She said that Hands of Light, Barbara Brennan, is the book Pauline first recommended me to read in the early 90s. So it was an early influence and link to her work. So it
Hmm.
was an early,
Okay.
yeah, that's it. Yeah. Um, yeah. Oh, apparently, Suzanne again says that she was doing a seminar with Achim Eckert, is it, from Austria, I think, who's working with TCM with acupuncture points. So that's
Hmm.
another way. But again, there are spiritual aspects of the point. So there's many different ways of getting into this work. So
Yes.
okay, let's have a look. Uh, Cecilia says she agrees with you, Gabriella. It's a system we learn and it really works. So you've got some support there. Thank you. And Suzanne Art says thank you for your answers. Um, and Leslie Graham says thank you for the link, the comment from Dinah about the link with Barbara Brennan's work. So that's good. Well, we've only got 4 minutes left now.
Then,
We just to warn you that if you do want to do the online course, we've now down. Shakura just told me she's getting emails in now. We've only got 3 places left. And so if you haven't actually secured a place, definitely by email, then you must do that now if you want one of the few remaining places, because they're all going really fast. Okay, so let's just have a look. I've got we're really running out of time now, and I've got a couple more questions backing up here. Let's have a look. Yes, I've got time for one more question, I think, and then we're going to have to. Yes, that's the one I saw. Yeah, I think this is probably a very good one to finish on. Will this type of work be incorporated into Shiatsu school training? Well, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? I mean,
that's a wish.
That's a wish, yes. I mean, in a sense, I think probably the European Shiatsu Institute and the Shiatsu College, we've been laying the foundations for this work right from the very basic training, haven't we? Because over the last 20 years, we've been incorporating the alignment, the understanding of the meridians as energetic structures, and we've basically been teaching all the Mass Naga material with the benefit of Pauline's insights kind of put in at the basic level.
Yes.
I know you've done that.
Slowly, this work will go into the Shiatsu training. Why not?
Yeah.
It's just a logical evolution.
Yes.
As mindset and modeling and things like this were the natural evolution from the traditional Shiatsu.
Yeah.
And anyway, we are teaching it in our schools, and our graduates, they come. So because it's just after the graduation.
Yes, exactly.
Still Shiatsu, but it's still in their training.
Yes,
and
exactly.
they're very interested. So it's really a wish, and I hope that this will happen, and also quite soon.
Yes, I think it will.
So
who knows?
Thank you for this question. So we can start thinking about this
who knows?
project.
Who knows? It could be the light body could be like an option for year 3 or your level 7.
Yes, exactly.
For
the master class.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Well, I know that that the seminars that you're giving, not just the online one, which has been overwhelmingly, subscribed, but also the face-to-face workshops that you're doing in Europe. I know that they're really, really popular. So it's a great thing that Pauline's work's still resonating around the world, and that it's being passed on.
And the last minute, we will have this international symposium in Switzerland next year, where Nicola, myself, Eva Maria Schult, and Brigitte Ladwig, we will be teaching, sharing, having tutorials, having private supervisions, all on this work. So the 4 of us who are teaching, spreading Pauline's work, we will be together, and we are very excited and very happy that this project is taking place. And
where could anyone find out about it? Could they email you
they can email me, or they can go to they can email me, and I will send them all the information.
Okay, great. Well, if you have any doubts on Gabriella's email address, you can always email us here, and we'll pass it on. When we Shakura, we can pass it on, so we can get in touch. Okay, I really have to apologise to all of you who've sent in questions in the last 5 or 10 minutes, because we just, as usual, we haven't had time to answer them all. But thank you very, very much. Thank you, Gabriella, for being with us from Rome.
Thank you, Cliff, for your presentation and your leading this webinar. Thank you to everybody for your presence and your questions and your interest.
Okay, great. I'm going to close the webinar now. Thank you very much for attending, and hope to see you on the online course or at our next free webinar. If you're not already a member of New Energy Work, please go on to New Energy Work and create a login, and we'll send you our email newsletter. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, good night.
Good night.